Hello, art students! The purpose of this video is to show you how to do advanced printmaking where you're using ink. You are watching this video because you've already done many attempts at using the printing foam using marker, and therefore you're ready to try the harder but prettier looking ink. I'm going to tilt you down so you can see how this process works. So, tilting you down. The first thing that you want to do is you want to go ahead and draw out your idea. Now, we happen to have it's a live theme right now, so that's why I created my little creature in its little place. And then once you've drawn it out completely, you're going to want to get yourself one of these foam sheets. You're going to go to a window and you are going to trace, I don't know if you can see it, but you can actually see through there. Oh, you can if I have it just like that. See through to the lines. You are just going to draw the contour lines, or the lines that tell us what an object is, but don't add any detail. So for example, you can tell that this is a top hat, but it doesn't have any of the lines that add more depth to the top hat. Then, once you have that done, you're ready for your first print. I'm going to demo printing at the end of this video, but I'm going to show you what happens. Essentially, you're going to get colored paper, and then you are going to do your first print using your lightest ink. You get 3 prints, there are my fingers, 3 prints and 3 inks. So you have to think through what 3 inks you want. The color that's your paper is going to create that first line. So if you're envisioning a black outline, then you would need black paper. I happen to wanted gray outlines, so I used gray paper. Then, once that is done, you are ready to start adding in your details. So, tilt down some more. Okay, so here's how that looks. You line everything up, you would go to a window, and then you would be able to trace through what you see. I'm going to do it without that because I can't trace through because I'm not in a window. You then are going to push in. You want to make sure that you have nice deep grooves, right, that you can cleanly feel with your finger that are also wide. Now I'm going to pretend that these lines here on my hat, that I wanted those lines to be white. So if I wanted that line to be white, I have to sink it in so that no ink goes there. Now this can feel really complicated until you watch all this video. So do you see how I'm like coloring in the foam, so I am pushing it down out of the way? I'm going to go through and I'm going to complete the rest of this print, and then I'll bring you back online. Alright, I've already done several prints, but I want to show you how this works. So this is one before I print, and we'll print it here so you can see how to do it. And then this is what they look like after they print. You always want to get your colored paper, and before you even start, you want to make sure that your name is on the paper, and you want to label it 1 out of 3. And then you're going to get the exact same paper, and you're going to put your name and label it 2 out of 3. And the next paper, and you're going to label it 3 out of 3. So you can see, ta-da, right there, right? Then, what you are going to do is you are going to take some of this ink. Now this is really expensive ink. It cost me about $15 for this one tube. So it's important that we use what we need, but we would never ever want to waste ink. Also, if we wasted ink, it would ruin our print. So what you're going to do is in one of your open spaces, you are going to take and you are going to put down about the size of a dime. So if I put my thumb there, you can see, right? It's like in between a dime and a nickel almost. Then I'm going to get a roller, and it's technically called a brayer, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to roll it out. And I'm listening. Hear that? That's a good sound. You want to hear it sticky, sticky, sticky. And then you want it to cover completely everywhere, like it is right there. So if you roll it out, you kind of roll it real thin, and it isn't covering everywhere. The trick is to kind of just keep rolling. Keep rolling, 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 and it will work out. Now sometimes you might have made your dot too thin. And if that happens, you just add a teeny tiny bit more because you wouldn't want to put too much. See, when you put too much, see how it got into my grooves? And you'll notice where I carved in, it is staying white. And that's what we would want to see. We want it to stay in those places white. Okay, once you have it all rolled out, you then are going to want to make sure that you have clean hands. Once you have clean hands, you are going to take your print and you're going to lift it up by the edges. See that? I have to use my little fingertips. Then take your print and you are going to line up your corners. This can be really hard and sometimes you want a friend to help. So you line up your corner and then you hold it in place. And then you wait, go patient, 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 line up your next corner, and then you slowly let the print fall. You can't move this once it falls, so if it didn't line up correctly, you just got to go with it. Then you're going to take a clean brayer, right, the roller, the brayer, and you are going to roll it out on this side, and then you're going to flip it over, and you're going to roll it out on the other side. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to get my fingers right underneath, and I'm going to slowly lift the print. See? Just like that. Now, the beauty of printmaking is that it's not going to always naturally come out the exact color, and that kind of gives it its flair, its funk. But if it bothers you, you could look at this and say, man, I could put more ink down because my ink is not pulling off completely. Okay, I am now going to transition to showing you what to do in order to do your third color. Remember, 3 prints and 3 colors. So, I'm going to start by taking this to the sink and washing it off. Okay, so to clean up your ink on your table, all you have to do is get a paper towel wet, and it actually peels right off. And then once it's all like kind of liquidy like that, you just get yourself a dry paper towel, and you are good to go to start your next printing process. So, going back to my design and thinking about my colors, I want you to notice that the first lines I made, right, stayed dark. I then did more carving, and I carved in, and where I carved in, oops, grabbing my thing. See where I carved in deep, that the ink didn't go there, and because the ink didn't go there, that stayed white. So that first print was all white, and then anything I carved in the second time left it white. So that means as I look at this, do you see how I have that greenish blue turquoise? So I now need to decide, what do I want to stay greenish blue turquoise, and that I want to take away. So I decided, I'll put this back so you can see how it looked. Oops, gotta flip it over. So I decided I want my sky to stay that color, but I'm going to change the color of everything else. Remember, this is the last time I get to print. And rather than trying to push all of this in, like I did on the details of the hat, I instead just cut it off, right? So, now I am ready to do my next inking process. Okay, so I went ahead and indented some things, and then I took away a little bit more, and now I'm adding in my next paint. I want to make sure it's feeling all mixed up in there. See that? See how it's coming out a little liquidy? That's a bad sign, so I'm going to cap this and shake it, and we'll try again. Alright, because this is coming out a little liquidy, I am using a scrap piece of foam to roll it out on. I'm squeezing out my little amount, and then I know I'm going to have to do a lot more rolling work before I can apply it to my print, or else it wouldn't do well. So I'm getting a clean brayer, and I'm rolling until I hear the sound. So roll, roll, roll. See, we don't hear it yet. Listen. It's got to get tacky. Yes. There it goes. Hear that? Once it starts making that sound, like a rubber band, you are good to go. So I'm going onto my plate. See, I want to hear that tacky rubber band sound. If you ever didn't hear the rubber band, you gotta stop and try again. And this is never something you want to start when we have very little class time left. It's always something you want to do when you're just starting. I just released you to your centers. Okay, now I'm gonna go to my first print. Check and make sure it says that this is print number 1. Remember, I'm going to put this down onto my paper. So you would go clean your hands. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go really slow. This time, I'm going to see if I can't line everything out. So I'm hovering right above my paper. Hovering right above my paper. And then once I set it down, that's it. I can't move it. This is where a friend can help. Once I've set it in, I need to get myself a clean brayer. Make sure it's also dry and rub it into place. I can flip it over, but I'm not going to because my tabletop's dirty. So if I flipped this, that would ruin my print. And then, think happy thoughts. And carefully, ta-da, print it off. So, this is a really big process that is super exciting, but if you've been doing lots and lots of printmaking, then this is the next level. Happy art making!